Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Derek Afasi. I'm the owner of Afasi Financial Group and RetireSharp.com. Today's topic, I want to discuss in detail something known as an insured retirement plan. And what this is referring to is a combination of different things of how an individual could leverage insurance companies and some insurance-related products to have a type of peace of mind in retirement. Now, regarding that concept, understand that you never want to leverage too many dollars towards one area. So as long as things are spread out on a specific way and it's tied to specific goals, you might have one product that works out really well through an insurance company for income, and then another product that works out really well for like a safe accumulation, or you could have kind of a blend between the two. So it's mainly for safety, for income, for safe accumulation. That's where this insurance-related products, or at least the ones that I'm going to be describing in this video, could really be beneficial for someone's position. Now, when it starts going more towards a growth play and somebody has, fund money's left over, and they're looking to really accumulate at an astronomical pace, that's where insurance companies are not going, that's not going to be their area. That's not going to be advantageous for your position, as opposed to going to more traditional type of investments or type of accounts. So I'm going to make sure to cover, all different areas, showing you kind of where individuals are currently falling victim to certain traps with just financial planning in general, and then how insurance companies and some insurance-related products could really help out those individuals, or at least cherry picking from the bullcrap insurance-related products to the decent ones, for that individual's position. So, as I'm going through this video, please make sure to take down notes. At any point in time, if you have questions, you want to speak with a specialist, feel free to give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. And make sure to reference this video when wanting to speak with a specialist. So first off, I want to tackle what are some of the problems with retirement plans in general, what typically happens with an individual as they're gearing up for retirement, or what has happened throughout their working years, and what is the major difference with financial planning when somebody is in something known as an accumulation phase versus a wealth preservation and distribution phase. And the main purpose, or the main concept to understand, is accumulation phases. Obviously when someone's trying to accumulate their dollars. So like if they start working for a company, and let's say they're in their 20s, they're in their 30s, well, when they start working for the company, typically individuals are offered something known as a 401k plan. So this is an employer-sponsored retirement plan, and it's one of these, I'm putting away savings, it's out of sight, out of mind. So as somebody's getting paid a specific salary, let's say a hypothetical example, someone's getting paid $100,000 per year. They're working for the company's giving them their health insurance, their ancillary products, disability, whatever that is, and they're just going to say, oh, by the way, we also have a type of employer-sponsored retirement plan for you that you could invest your salary into, or a portion of your monies, each and every week, each and every year. So a 401k, it really just depends upon whether you work for a private entity, you're going to be offered a 401k. A public entity would be like a 403b. A governmental entity would be a TSP, a thrift savings plan. A municipality could be like a 457 plan. They're all structured very, very similar. And what I mean by that is, as you're working, you have two main components that grow. If you think of just this, in this example, I'm going to use a 401k. What grows as 401k monies are a contribution and a rate of return. So almost as if it's any sort of financial product out there, even if you're saying, hey, I want to put money underneath my mattress each and every month, each and every week. Well, if this is the mattress account, if you're adding contributions into this account, into this, into the underneath your mattress, well, you're not going to obviously receive any sort of rate of return, but it is contributions, and rate of return is going to equal what your account balance is, what your bucket of money is at the end of the day, end of the year. Same sort of thing. When you're looking at a 401k, do not try to overcomplicate the situation. It goes by contributions that you're placing in there, and rate of return is going to equal whether this bucket is larger or smaller at the end of the day, end of the year. So, and let me clear off the screen real quick. So if we understand that there's two main components off of an account growth, Well, the contribution side, what makes these 401ks unique is there's typically an incentive to contribute into this plan. One is the individual understands if they're not offered a type of pension plan or some sort of defined benefit that's going to come to them after they retire, well, then they have to rely on this 401k monies to, live off for lifetime income later on. And then the second component is, they typically, those employers are going to try to retain their employees, so that's why they're going to give them something known as a 401k match. So if someone's making $100,000 and the company says, okay, we're going to give you a match of 3%, well, then that means that this person puts in $3,000, then the employer is going to match him $3,000. So this person put in $3,000, another $3,000 went there, so now you have a $6,000 contribution. So these are the controllables. This is exactly what the individual could control. They could control what they're contributing into this account year by year by year. This other component is what's usually overlooked, and this is where, the education really goes by the wayside. There's not a lot of education out there when you're trying to choose which funds, would allow this account to grow. And this is where I'm talking about this rate of return side. So like with a 401k, what typically happens, you have about 10 to maybe 20, 25 different funds that you could choose from. So think of them as eggs in your basket to choose. If somebody goes and they say, okay, well, I feel like the market's going to be doing really good, I'm going to go into aggressive funds, meaning mainly comprised of, U.S. stocks or international stocks or, whatever sort of aggressive play that individual wants to utilize. So what happens in that situation, if somebody goes and they're adding contributions and they were very aggressive on their rate of return side, and let's say that the U.S. stock market, because of the way that they were diversified, the U.S. stock market, let's say went up that year, well, then they're going to have a nice positive rate of return into their bucket. So it's going to be ultimately two positive interests or two positive aspects that are compounding together and growing that bucket larger and larger and larger. So like when we look at historically the U.S. stock market from 1980 through 2000, there was over 1,000% growth into the market. You had individuals that their main types of retirement accounts were 401k plans, so therefore they were getting positives from the contributions they were making, and because they were investing their monies with the stock market, this rate of return just kept going up and up and up and up. So that wasn't a problem. Now the downside that occurred is, obviously, we fast forward and then we have 2001, we have 2008, we have different things that are now impacting the markets, and now we're seeing something known as volatility, meaning it could be, great one day, 1 week, it could be horrible the next. So this is where this rate of return, it's not as, simple as let me just throw in money towards my 401k and I'm just going to ride this roller coaster constantly going up. There actually has to be now some strategy behind it. Because if this individual just stays, okay, I'm going to, maintain my aggressive status and I'm going to maintain my aggressive allocation, and let's say the stock market crashes, like in 2008, when you had like the S&P 500 lost on average about 37%, well, it didn't matter how much individuals contributed into their accounts. Their account got destroyed with that downward market losses. Some of them was, even worse. So some of them they've lost as bad as 50, 60%, depending upon how they allocated their money. So it took them all those years of savings and accumulation to have it just, go down as if someone's taking a sword and slicing the bucket. And individuals losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, obviously that's a large problem. And I want that to really hit home because during an accumulation phase, rule of thumb is to stay somewhat aggressive, especially if you're younger, because you have that long time horizon. And historically, the market should be bouncing back up. Now, as somebody's nearing, so let's say from age 30 to age 40, they might want to be a little bit more conservative. So something that's not going to be as heavily impacted when the market goes down. So like as an example, if somebody goes and let's say they were super aggressive, they were investing in the S&P 500, and they were dealing with a 2008, well, the S&P average on average lost 37%. Now let's say if they were comprised into something that gave them a little bit diversification, a little bit more conservative, and they were 50% into the market, but then 50% into like the Barclays bond market or bond index, well, then they would have only lost 5%. And it's because it's something known as diversification, something known as a proper asset allocation strategy. So what this did was the further and further and further they go down the road, they say from age 30 to 40, age 40 to 50, age 50 to 60, if someone's, ideally looking to retire around age 65, well then they want to take away, a rule of thumb is to tell them, okay, diversify your portfolio a little bit better so that you're not having as large of an impact when that market does go south. Because if the market's doing well, everyone's happy. If the market's going, down, obviously there's a lot of panic that's setting in. So to kind of coincide with that accumulation strategy is, as you start nearing further and further and further, there has to be some sort of plan in place. The largest mistake that's made is individuals, they're hitting that age 65, they're hitting that age 62 or 70, whenever they're looking to retire, and they're still sticking with that accumulation mindset. And they're still sticking with investments, and they're not trying to preserve their nest egg. They're not trying to have, just like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, wealth preservation and distribution strategy. There's a way on how you can maximize your accumulation phase, and then there's also a way on how you can maximize your wealth preservation and distribution. Maximize what your distributions are using the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary, and you're doing that the safe way so that you have as much leftover monies as possible, and those leftover monies can now be leveraged towards a type of accumulation play, or something known as, that I like to call, fund monies. So the first problem that we see is somebody staying in an accumulation phase when they should be at least trying to transition into a wealth preservation distribution phase. And like case in point would be if somebody still is in that 401k type philosophy and all of a sudden they retire, well then that means that the contributions are going to stop, because no one's going to be contributing into a 401k account if they don't have those additional discretionary funds to do so. So now you have to rely solely on this rate of return side. This rate of return side is determined by the investment options that person could choose. So these are the 10 to 25 different eggs in the basket to choose from. There's only so much juice that you could squeeze out of those, out of those eggs to give you a comfortable rate of return. So if somebody goes and they made that mistake, or they still stayed with a type of investment related philosophy, this is where they could fall victim to something known as reverse dollar cost averaging. And what this says is it's the computation, the compound effect of negative aspects of pressure going against this type of retirement account, or different types of retirement accounts that the individual has, while they're trying to pull monies from this account. So like as an example, with typical 401k accounts, you might have something known as mutual fund related fees or 401k related fees that are associated there. If you have a financial advisor that's monitoring this account, or let's say is taking this money and rolling it over to a traditional IRA, and those traditional IRAs have mutual fund related fees, they might also be charging an advisory fee, a type of wrap fee that's associated with this type of account. So if you think of this bucket, or if you think of these monies like in the term of a bucket, let's poke a couple of holes in the bottom of this bucket. That's money that's leaking out, that's going towards these types of fees. So those are negatives. If somebody has, minus 1.31% of mutual fund related fees, and that's the average mutual fund related fee cost, and then another 1.5% of advisory fees, let's say it was 2.5–3% of fees in a given situation, that's already a minus 3% before your account does anything. So that's a pressure, that's a problem. If let's say, because these are still related in investments, and obviously investments could go up or could go down, if your account starts going down because of the investments went down, well, now you have downward market loss. That's like somebody slicing your bucket. And now when you try pulling out monies for income to live off of, because now you're no longer working, so now you need to try to receive some sort of income from this account, this is where you're having a fourth negative. So it's a fourth pressure that's coming out of this account. So this is where, when we have this computation of things that are occurring, this could take a lot of pressure against the account and could liquidate your bucket very quickly. And just a really easy hypothetical example, let's say if you're paying minus 3% in mutual fund and advisory related fees, your account drops down 10%, and you decide to pull out 5% of income. Well, if you go and somebody had $1 million, for easy math, and they say, okay, well, I need $50,000 of income to live off of. Well, if they would have done that in this situation, they would have ended up pulling out $50,000, but they would have ended up losing $180,000 worth of value. Minus 5, minus 10, minus 3. So now their account balance walking into the next year is sitting at $820,000. That's a lifestyle change. That's a large impact that is essentially occurring. So the next year, they're going to have that much more of a gain the next year just to get back to break even, just to have their account, last them as long as possible. Let's say if this downward pressure is larger, this downward market loss that occurred was a larger loss, like a 2008, like a 2001. And let's say the fees are larger, or the person is now trying to pull out. It's not 5% off of the $1 million. If they still need $50,000 to live off of, well, $50,000 is a larger amount on a $820,000 bucket that's left over. So now that's increasing this. As the person lives longer and longer, they might have to also step up and increase this from $50,000 to $55,000 to combat what that inflationary expense is. So now you have a spiral effect that is all going against this account, and this is why time and time again we see baby boomers outliving their retirement monies, and they have to rely solely on Social Security, or they have to go back to work, much later in their 70s, possibly in their 80s, and it's because they didn't properly plan. They went towards this accumulation mindset when they should have leveraged a wealth preservation distribution strategy properly. So what used to happen, or I guess we could kind of, take the clock back a little bit in the 1990s and 2000s, is when somebody was looking to retire, they would be able to say, okay, well, interest rates are pretty good. Let me just go and take my money and I'll throw it into bank CDs, or I'll throw it into fixed annuities that are just paying me a fixed interest rate year by year by year. So you had a point in time when bank CDs and fixed annuities were paying 10% rates of return for like a 5-year CD or a 5-year fixed annuity. So that's equivalent to saying, okay, if you have $1 million and you're splicing them throughout different bank CDs or fixed annuities, you're receiving $100,000 of interest. You're not even having to dip into this principal, and you're just living off the interest, living off the interest, living off the interest. After that 5-year CD comes due, we'll use that example, then you take the $1 million and then you purchase a new 5-year CD, or there's something known as a laddering strategy. So that used to be a very successful way on how individuals were able to properly retire or leverage a retirement income strategy. Well, unfortunately, interest rates have really gone by the wayside. So now that same bank CD that used to offer 10% is paying 1.5%. for that 5-year, or 2% for that 5 years. So they need to come up with a lot more money out of pocket, and this is not even beating out the pace of inflation, where that's where individuals say, okay, well, if I can't go into fixed interest related accounts, well, then maybe I'll just roll the dice and go into the market, and hopefully everything's going to work itself out. So this is where an insured retirement plan, even though it's not really an insured retirement plan, it's just a retirement plan that you're leveraging different related insurance products, this is where it could be very beneficial for your position. Let me clear up the screen. So if we're looking at viable solutions, what we want to do, or what I typically recommend, is say, well, out of your assets, whatever you've accumulated for that retirement nest egg, or whether that be 401k accounts, savings accounts, IRA accounts, Roth IRA accounts, whatever that is, how exactly can you utilize the smallest amount of dollars from these accounts, and only as much as necessary, to provide that peace of mind in retirement, and provide an actual, concrete retirement plan that is set up mainly for that wealth preservation and distribution phase. So this wealth preservation and distribution phase, this could be set up for individuals that are nearing retirement, or are currently in retirement, just started retirement, or have been in retirement for, elongated, amount of time already. And it's just all about making very slight tweaks to what you're already doing that will provide this peace of mind, give you that overall, result. Now, the problem that occurs is you might have, an individual might have, received a mailer, and they try to sit down in a seminar. They're talking to an advisor that they're trying to shove like a variable annuity or an annuity and all these insurance-related products down your throat, regardless of whatever you're telling them, and whether or not it might be the most advantageous, goal, or the most advantageous strategy for your position. And, so that's where I really want you to focus in on this section right now, is because there's ways on how you could calculate the dollars out of these specific already existing retirement accounts and make sure that you're placing them with the correct products and nothing more. So you don't want to over leverage them, because there's, just like anything, there's going to be pros and cons. Insurance related products are very good for that safe mindset, for that max income play, but they're poor when it comes to trying to really access a lot of money from those accounts or have an astronomical growth play. So I want to show you how you could shift them into specific lanes, and then where these insured retirement plans or these insurance related contracts could come in and really help out the situation. So this is where I go through the 3 things rule, and there's 3 things that every individual needs to figure out before they're retired, or if they're currently retired, how to stay retired forever. And so this is what's going to bring retirement peace of mind, or peace of mind to a wealth preservation and distribution strategy. So the first thing is income sources. The second thing is emergency funds. And then the third thing is inflationary-based protection. So then I'll show you how a insurance-related product could kind of fit within these different aspects, regarding individual situation, and then where you might want to have something better with blended strategies and something that might be a little bit more efficient while only leveraging a very small portion of insurance-related products and then a larger portion towards what I like to call the fund money. So like if we have an example where we have an individual that has $500,000 and we'll just say is in their 401k account, and they don't have any other savings, and it's just a really very simple hypothetical example of what this individual could do. And let's say this person is age 60 and they say, I want to retire exactly at age 65, so I have 5 years left until retirement. I understand that my expenses are currently X, but by the time I hit age 65, I'm going to have 50 grand worth of retirement expenses that I need to make sure will last me for the rest of my life, or will be there each and every year till the day that I pass away. So I have basically about 5 years before this event was to occur. How exactly can I properly retire with this $500,000 bucket if you're telling me that we can at least insure some portions of the retirement plan? When we go to step 1, we want to find out, okay, how much does this client have of guaranteed income sources that are going to be coming to them? So a very popular type of guaranteed income source would be Social Security income. Let's say we figure out at age 65 this person's going to be receiving $30,000 of Social Security income, but does not have any pension, does not have any rental properties, does not have any other income sources that are coming. That way they're not coming to to go into his account year by year or month by month. Well, then he's going to have a shortfall of the expenses at age 65 are going to be $50,000, and there's a $20,000 gap. Obviously 50 minus 30 equals 20. So there's a way on how you could take a portion of dollars, because he's currently age 60, take a portion of dollars from the 401k account, do something known as an in-service rollover into a type of IRA plan, an individual retirement account that's customized through an insurance-related product, such as a hybrid annuity in this example. So what this would do is, out of this particular state, just a very generic state, whether that be the state of Florida, the state of Texas, the state of California, there's typically about 1,200 to 1,300 different contracts on the annuity side. Out of these, majority of them, about 90 to 95%, are crap. They're total shit. And excuse my language for saying that, but it's the truth. There's a lot of manipulation. There's a lot of manipulation in the marketing message. There's a lot of manipulation with the smoke and mirrors approach, what I like to call smoke and mirrors, with how these companies provide a specific offering. So what we do is, being an independent agency, we're able to access every single carrier possible, every single contract possible, and say, okay, well, if we break this down in simplistic formats of cash flow, what's the smallest amount of dollars out of this $500,000 that you could have rolled over into an IRA annuity that will produce exactly $20,000 of lifetime income starting at age 65. So this is a 5-year deferred contract that will trigger lifetime income. So maybe out of this 500,000, the first place option says that if you go and put 200,000 with company ABC, it's going to produce you exactly $20,000 in 5 years. Well, that's why it's better to go with the first place option, as opposed to maybe the second place option says if you put away $235,000 with company XYZ, it's going to give you $20,000. So the difference between first place, second place, third place, fourth place, even 10th place, that's thousands upon thousands of dollars that you do not have to leverage. You do not have to take out of your pocket. You can put the smallest amount of dollars into the best contract and the best cash flow related contract that will produce you exactly what your need is. So that's the the largest takeaway that I want you to understand is not all companies are the same. And all because you might see something like an income rider that tells you about 7% guarantee versus a 5% guarantee versus a 10% guarantee. That's more the smoke and mirrors. That's more fictitious dollars that are just trying to make the individual feel as if their account is growing, when in reality this is nothing more than a phantom account, a calculation account. So I'll go through exactly what I mean by that, like the differences, but just in this really easy example, out of the $500,000 that this individual originally started out with, we were able to accomplish this step one by saying, okay, the top cash flow related contract, hybrid annuity, would produce $20,000 by the time that this person is age 65 and will last them for the rest of their life. The reason why I say hybrid annuity is because it's a fixed index annuity with an income rider, meaning if this person triggers lifetime income and they keep living and living and living and they pass away, well, whatever's remaining in their account balance would go to their beneficiaries. If, let's say, they keep living and living and living and all of a sudden their account balance gets depleted and $0, well, now this individual is taking from the insurance company's pockets, and now they're getting pure profit on those monies of cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. So it only costs $200,000 out of the $500,000 bucket to do so, and this is at least accomplishing step one, which is probably going to be the hardest step out of all of them. And that's where a lot of people fall short, is they either have to reduce what their budget is, like, how much their expenses are going to be, or increase the amount of savings from now until that point. But in this really easy example, we're able to accomplish step one. So I know that I was looking very sloppy on the screen, so I wanted to just kind of, re-break this down. 500,000, 200,000 went to IRA number one, which was with an annuity, saying that step one, their income sources, they have 30,000 Social Security income, 20,000 that's coming from the annuity, which is going to it's going to cover their $50,000 of expenses. We didn't want to put any single dollar higher than what needed to be into the IRA number one. Now, number two, this is where emergency funds come in. So typically, rule of thumb is that an individual wants to always make sure that they have about 6 to 12 months of what their annual expenses are into some sort of liquid bucket, some easily accessible bucket. The good thing about an annuity with step one is that's going to provide them that lifetime income stream later on. The bad news is they're not going to want to try to pull out monies from that annuity. So rather than go and say, okay, put 500,000 into an annuity and, and then everything will work itself out because you're going to have all this income at age 65. Well, that's going to be a detriment to this individual situation. Yes, it will give them more income than what their expenses are at step one, but now it just locked up all their money, where usually with annuities, you could access up to 10% per year for however long that contract has a surrender schedule for. So like, let's say you're in a 10-year contract, 10-year surrender schedule contract, typically insurance companies allow you to pull out up to 10% per year for up to those first 10 years. After the 10th year, then you have full access to those monies. Well, if this person has an emergency situation within the first couple of years and they need to access more than 10%, that's going to hurt them. So this is why I only like to see the smallest amount of dollars and only as much as necessary, and it's sticking to its lane. Basically, this annuity, it's serving its specific purpose. It's not a purpose to say we're going to put some money in there and then we're going to try to remove money and we're not going to play by the terms of the income rider. We want to make sure that it is gaining and it is doing exactly what it was meant for, to produce this $20,000 of income. So this is why, if we understand that $50,000 is your expense need, maybe this emergency fund, we'd leave about $50,000 on the sidelines of just in a liquid bucket. So that could be out of this $500,000, it could be a rollover into an IRA money market account, where it's just not really gaining or losing when the market's going up or down. It's just very liquid cash that you could pull from any time. Or you just say, I'm going to leave $50,000 out of the $500,000. I'm not going to roll over the full $500,000 from the 401k. I'm only going to roll over $450,000. And then because $50,000, I'm always going to leave liquid into that 401k account. So there's a couple of different ways on how to set up step two. You could either set it up an IRA number two, or you could just leave that $50,000 portion in the 401k, because those are liquid monies. And then it brings us down to step three. So let me clear off the screen. So step one, we understand that the income sources were covered through the $200,000 annuity that's being deferred for 5 years and then getting triggered. That's going to produce $20,000 of income. Step two, you had $50,000. If we're just saying we rolled that into an IRA money market account, well, then that's sitting there liquid cash in case of an oh my gosh moment that was to occur. That you could always access that. And now step three, if we're using this as for inflation protection and we're using it solely as an annuity play or an insurance related contract play, it would be leveraging a deferred annuity specific to how much those expenses are going to increase year by year by year. So what I mean by that is with any type of expenses, some expenses are going to be fixed, and then other expenses are going to be inflationary. So at age 65, when this individual has $50,000 of expenses, that's fine. That might cover their expenses for a couple of years by just saying the Social Security income and the IRA annuity number one income is going to even out whatever those expenses are. But if we have the expenses increasing by the pace of inflation, which is the cost of goods and services increasing each and every year, that's going to gain by about 2 to 4%. So there's going to be specific points in time where the inflation is going to exceed how much guaranteed income streams that you have coming to you. So this is where you could have another step up with an annuity. It's not an inflationary annuity, but typically it makes more mathematical sense to have something that, rather than a 5-year deferred annuity, which might be company ABC, and XYZ was in second place, well, maybe XYZ is going to be in first place if someone's looking to defer 8 years, and ABC might be in 6th place. So each carrier is going to have their specific niche criteria to say, we love 5-year deferred 5-year deferred situations. We're going to provide the best cash flow on a 5-year deferred situation, as opposed to another company which might love 8-year deferred situations, and another company that might love 15-year deferred situations. So you could have multiple companies, multiple contracts out of this basket of 1,200, 1,300 different options to choose from, and whichever one that makes the most mathematical sense to say, absolute worst case scenario, we understand if your expenses are increasing by 4% per year, well, then we're going to trigger annuity number 2 at exactly age 70, and then annuity number 3 at exactly age 77, and then annuity number 4 at exactly age 82, just to make sure that you're always ahead of the game, that you're always making sure that your lifetime income stream is stepping up. And I hope that all that makes sense. And there was a reason why I did not just say, oh, go into one annuity and then we're going to attach an inflationary rider onto it and then everything will be fine. Because the main goal is to leave as much money in your pocket at the end of the day, the end of the year. If you're using $500,000, typically the best inflationary protected annuities are crap. They're not going to be comparable to the level income streams. So that's why you could typically save thousands upon thousands of more dollars by leveraging the best level income with those specific, deferred guarantees, as opposed to going into one that has that inflationary step. So like what I mean by that is we understand that in that situation, it costs $200,000 to produce $20,000 of income from that first annuity. And then maybe if you wait another 10 years, you might have another annuity that's going to give you $10,000 of income, and all you had to do was put 50 grand in there. So between the two of these, one that's giving you $20,000 at age 65, another one that's giving you $10,000 at age 70 to suffice what that step up of inflationary expenses. Well, if you're looking at the best inflation protected annuities, it might, out of this $500,000, rather than do it and break it up into a specific lane and set it up on a correct mathematical standpoint, they might say, okay, well, the top option on an inflation annuity is going to be $400,000. Give $400,000 to company C, and they're going to give you $20,000 of income, but it's going to step up with the 3% inflation year by year by year. That doesn't make sense, because we could use 2 really good annuities that only cost you $250 grand, rather than one that is giving you that inflation step up, but it's costing you $150 grand more. So that's kind of the takeaway, is to understand that do not always get manipulated into the insurance company marketing message, and there's ways on how to look underneath the hood and find the correct process, the correct cash flow, the correct income stream that would go for your specific age. So like somebody that's age 62, waiting 5 years is going to have an entirely different set of recommendations that somebody that's age 67 waiting till age 70 to trigger lifetime income. So it really just depends upon your state, it depends upon your situation, and making sure that the ultimate goal is to leave as much money in your pocket at the end of the day and make sure that anything left over are your fund monies, and now that could go towards investments. So just to recap, if somebody wanted to have pure peace of mind and they had that situation, You could leverage the insurance-related contracts, also known as the annuities. The annuities are going to be insurance-related contracts for retirement. So only insurance companies could offer annuities, just like an insurance company can't offer a certificate of deposit. That's something that can only be offered through banks. Banks cannot offer annuities. So, each one is safe-related contract, but are safe-related contracts, but they could only be, they have to stick to their specific lanes. Banks cannot offer annuities. Insurance companies cannot offer bank-related products. So with this situation, we're saying, okay, well, you could leverage annuities to give you lifetime income, to, allow you to not have to utilize those portions for the emergency, and then also could provide you that inflationary protection. A more realistic scenario would be if somebody had $500,000, maybe they only use an annuity for leg one to $200,000 that will produce in 20 grand, have $50,000 left over into an IRA money market account or leave that into the 401k account, and then step three, they could set up an IRA set up for different investments and try to get a really good risk-adjusted return, better than what they have available through their 401k eggs of 10 to 25 different funds to choose. So this is going to be more of a concrete plan, or more of a blended plan, to not say go annuity, insurance, but you do want to leverage the insurance process the correct way, the insurance contracts the correct way, so that you have as much leftover monies as possible. So like in this example, you would only need $200,000 to go in towards an insurance retirement plan or insurance-related contract, and then you have $300,000 that's left over in your fund accounts to grow and grow and grow. And the step three, as you're growing through those investments, that's where you could take off the top to pay for what that inflationary need is. So I hope that all of that makes sense. It's not just positioning somebody into just always go into this one area and this one contract and that's it. It's utilizing a blend of options. When somebody says, oh, all annuities suck, that's not entirely accurate. Majority of annuities are horrible. I agree with that. But the ones that are good could be very good. Just like all investments suck. No, that's not true. There's a need for investments. There's a need for safety. There's a need for liquid cash. And each one serves their own purpose, where they're going to their specific lane, and then it's going to overall, create a perfect puzzle piece for that accumulation to wealth preservation and distribution strategy. So I hope that everything makes sense. I hope you found value in this video. If you have questions, if you want to see which one would be the best plan for your specific situation, give our 1-800 number a call. It's 1-800-566-1002. Please make sure to reference this video. We offer 24/7 customer service, so at any point in time, give us a call mornings, nights, weekends, holidays, whatever the case might be, and then you speak with an assistant, tell them your situation, and they'll patch you over to a specialist. A more efficient way on how to set up an appointment would actually be going through our online calendar on our website. You can click on the link in the description box of this video. It's retiresharp.com or afassifinancial.com. It brings you all to the same exact spot. And then what you notice is you're going to have a little calendar icon that's going to pop up on the bottom of your screen. So this will pop up, it says book your strategy session, and then you could go down and basically toggle to the schedule of the appointment, so you could see our digital calendar and put a time that's most convenient for you. You could write us a message if, let's say, it's after hours for whatever reason, and you want to have a conversation on the weekend or late at night, whatever that is, and we'll make sure to assign somebody to your case. I want to thank you very much for watching this video. If you found value, obviously give us a call or set up a calendar appointment, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Retire Sharp, so you have access to the most updated videos. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.